Okay, as usual, my room is really, really messy, and I'm not going to do anything about it. Today, I'm going to do another kind of just like chit-chat stream of consciousness type of deal. And this topic is inspired by something that I saw on my friend's Facebook. I hate Facebook, but sometimes I just get on and like lurk for a minute. So I saw something that she posted that was pretty thought-provoking, and I thought it would be a good conversation to bring here. I don't think she knows I have a YouTube channel, so I'm not gonna like shout her out, but I'm gonna read some of her ideas here on this video, so just know like everything isn't my idea. So her post was essentially, you are not cooler just because you've liked something longer. You are not cooler for liking something longer. The main reasons for her making this post is because Inuyasha and Avatar: The Last Airbender have resurged in popularity. They've become popular again. And if you're like 30-ish, then it's possible that you grew up with that, or your, younger siblings grew up with those shows. So she's saying that she's seeing people complaining that Avatar and Inuyasha are becoming popular again. And while some people are protective of that, she's saying that you should find it awesome. You should think it is awesome that people... Cat! He's distracting me. You should find it awesome that it's rising in popularity again, that younger generations are discovering these shows and latching onto them. You should think it is great. You should not think that you're better because you grew up with it. So basically, like, you don't have more, like, Inuyasha points or whatever. Like, you aren't a bigger Inuyasha fan just because you grew up with it 12, 15 years ago, and, like, now the younger generation's growing up with it. I totally understand her argument, yes. And she says, I hope you all know that I am personally here for the conversations for all you people experiencing any kind of new show or movie for the first time. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for getting into something later than other people. They are just mad you're getting to experience the magic of something special for the first time. And yeah, I totally agree, and I have just like a lot to say about this. So I have a couple friends who are like 21, Zoomers, as I call them. So I have a couple of Zoomer friends. When I was with them the other day, they're like, have you ever heard of Inuyasha? And I'm like, yes. They'll be like, oh, have you ever heard of this show called Avatar: The Last Airbender? And I'm like, yes, I was there. I was there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, who do you think I am? And I think that's probably part of it, is like, they're overlooking the fact that, like, we did grow up with wonderful, wonderful media. Like, our time was awesome. And they just think, like, we're just depraved. Or is it deprived? I don't know. They think that we just grew up in a wasteland. All right, but I actually responded to her post. And I made a few points. And I've thought of more points since then. And I would say that there's caveat to this. There's an exception to this. You aren't cooler for liking something longer if it was fed to you via the mainstream media. If it was just like common knowledge. If you turn on the TV, Inuyasha's on TV, Avatar's on TV, like, you aren't cooler because you turned on the TV 15 years earlier than kids today. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I totally get that. Like, you're just a product of your time. That has nothing to do with you're cooler. But if you've liked something longer because you dug and you researched and you like scrounged and scrambled your way to find this obscure thing or whatever that like later became cool. I mean, I guess that's like the whole hipster argument, is like, I liked it first or whatever. But that is something to consider in a way. You're definitely not cooler if you're exposed to mainstream media of your age before people that are younger than you. Yeah, obviously. You could be cooler if it was some type of alternative media that you found on your own before it became more widespread. You could be cooler. There is a possibility. Okay, yes, my response to her, I said, you are not cooler for existing in a different time than people that are younger than you. That's not what makes you cooler. And I said, if the thing you discovered was hard to discover, hard to uncover, and you found it, you could possibly argue that you're cooler. But like, I'm trying to think of someone who's popular in like 2005. I don't know, like, if Kelly Clarkson became popular again, you can't say like you're cooler because you already knew who Kelly Clarkson was. You're just old. Okay, and this is what else I said on her post though. And I'm just going to read it. These are my words now. I think the part that gets frustrating and causes a knee-jerk gatekeeper reaction is that the Zoomers act like these resurgences are new and they found it and they want to tell me about it. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Thanks. I was there. And then I went on to say, I guess it's just kind of sad that our generation and our pop culture is underrated and dismissed so often, even though it has shaped a lot of what the kids are into right now. Like, think about this, like, 90s nostalgia, this like 90s romanticism that is just like so intense right now, and like the Zoomers, and they are overlooking the fact like we were there, bro. And this is funny. This takes me back to like one of my, it's kind of a joke, but one of my like kind of catchphrases with my Zoomer friends. If they'll ask me about something or tell me about something, I say, I know, I was there. Okay, and then this is the other point that I went on to make. Let's say millennials are giving Zoomers a hard time for not knowing what Inuyasha was before. Giving Zoomers a hard time for not having watched Pokemon Indigo League, or not having listened to some popular 90s or early 2000s bands. Like, we're so quick to be like, you don't know. And this is something that me and Zach were talking about the other day. People should not be faulted for the time or the generation or the era that they came into something. People should not be faulted for what generation they're in. An example could be if somebody, if somebody started talking to a younger kid and says, oh, so you like this 2020 metal band, but you can't call yourself a metalhead until you go back and listen to Black Sabbath. You can't say you like metal until you know who Black Sabbath is. We've all heard that. We've all heard things like that. And I'm coming to the conclusion that that is nonsense. When I came into metal in the early 2000s, I only had arguably 20 years to catch up on. 20 years of metal history to catch up on. Somebody who gets into metal right now has 40 plus years of metal to catch up on. It's impossible. This was recently like all up in the headlines, okay? When Billie Eilish, is that it? When Billie Eilish, or whatever her name is, got a lot of backlash because she said in an interview that she didn't know who Van Halen was. People are pissed because popular artist Billie Eilish does not know who popular artist Van Halen is. Like, yeah, she's 17. She's 17. So that means she was born in what? 2002, 2003? What do you expect? What do you want? Do you want all high school children to know who Van Halen is? I didn't even know who Van Halen was till about 8 years ago when I started listening to classic rock radio. Like, she didn't grow up listening to Van Halen. She's like 2 generations beyond Van Halen. She's not even making rock music. She's a pop artist. What do you expect from her? And this is what I'm getting at. Like, she shouldn't be faulted for her generation. She shouldn't be faulted that she's 17. You're 17, so you don't know who Van Halen is. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. And it's, and going back to the whole metal thing, like, just because someone is getting into, I don't know, sludge, like, let's say a young kid is getting into Electric Wizard or something, like, you can't be mad that they don't know who Asabath is yet. Asabath was 30 years ago. Oh my God. And an electric wizard is still kicking, you know? So they're coming into the now. They can't go back and learn everything, and they weren't there. They weren't there for acid bath. So some things do come with time. Some things do circle back around, but it's, I know middle history is really important to me, like middle context, obviously, because I just made a whole video kind of touching on that. But at the same time, like, we can't fault kids for coming in when they did to anything. And we can't, or any adults, you know, someone who's 30 might just now be getting into middle. We can't expect them to go absorb the last 40 years. And yeah, it does get kind of frustrating that people just forget that you were there and they don't know how popular Avatar: The Last Airbender was because they weren't there. So in a way, I guess you do kind of feel forgotten or left behind when something from your past resurges and all these kids are into it and have no idea that you were there and that it made you what you are. You know what I mean? But ultimately, you just have to, like, be happy for other people. You have to let people speak. If people want to tell you all about Avatar: The Last Airbender after you say, I've already seen it, if they still want to talk your ear off about it, like, sometimes you just have to, like, let them speak, you know? Just smile and be happy for them, and they're getting into that magic for the first time. And, you know, if someone asks you who Van Halen is, just maybe tell them politely. Don't shun them. Another thing that Zach and I like to say all the time is, this is our time. This is our time. So the reason why Inuyasha is coming back and Avatar: The Last Airbender is coming back, the reason why bands like Eve 6, My Chemical Romance, and Newfound Glory are touring, the reason why Friends is so popular again, is because this is our time. This is our time, y'all. Things are coming full circle for us. This is our age. This is like when our nostalgia is everybody's nostalgia. Like that's really cool. So this is our time. This is why Final Fantasy VII Remake has come out. The game that our age group grew up with is now coming full circle. Like, these are beautiful things, and we shouldn't be, like, protective of them. We should be celebrating in it. This is what Unsolved Mysteries just came out again. Like, I could be mad, but instead I'm celebrating, you know? And sometimes it's hard, but it's just like, remember in the back of your mind, this is for you. This isn't for them. Well, we're sharing with them because we know they'll like it. But ultimately, like, this is our satisfaction, like our gratification, our nostalgia. Everything's coming full circle for us. Things are getting remade, revamped, remastered, reunions. Like, everything is coming back because we're the target audience. We're the market. And yes, everyone else is benefiting, but we're the reason. Millennials rule the world. I'm just kidding. And it's stupid for any of us to be gatekeeping, especially something that is completely mainstream. Mainstream media. Like, please do not gatekeep something like Friends, okay? And you can try to prove you like such and such more, or you've liked such and such longer, and, like, sure, maybe you have, but ultimately nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares how long I've liked whatever band, or how much I like whatever band. And that's, you know, so when it all comes back to it, is not about ego. It's about what that media or that art means to you. And that's all you've got at the end of the day. And I think that's all I wanted to say. I'll probably think of more later. But speaking of Inuyasha, I didn't grow up watching it because I didn't have satellite or cable. It was probably like 4 years ago, Zach and I decided to start watching it because I remember how popular it was back in the day, and I just feel like I missed out, so I was, like, trying to catch up, you know? I didn't make it all the way through. I made it, like, several episodes, but I got distracted by something else. And as far as Avatar: The Last Airbender, I always like to say I was already too old when that came out. My sister was really into it, and she would watch it all the time. She's 2.5 years younger than me, but I didn't do the Avatar thing either. But yeah, we see this a lot. I can't help it. I can't help it when I see Zoomers be talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I've always heard good things about Final Fantasy VII, I just never go around to playing it, or something. I'm like, duh! But you cannot fault them for the time they came up. You can't. Oh my God, I could talk about this stuff forever, but I'm going to stop now. I'm going to stop now. And you know, I have thoughts that go in both lanes, you know. I have I was there thoughts, and then I have share the wealth thoughts, you know. Getting older is weird, really. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. Like, growing up is weird. Getting older is weird. Not being the primary, like, culture shapers anymore is weird, but I'm glad that, like I said, a lot of things are coming full circle for our generation, and I will leave it at that. Remember, you're not cooler just because you've liked something longer, in most cases.